It began on a quiet Thursday evening, in a home that looked like any other on the block. A warm lamp glowing through the curtains, children's toys scattered across the living room floor, a half-finished cup of tea left on the kitchen counter. Everything appeared normal, peaceful, routine, until the parents walked through the front door and found the silence waiting for them. 4-year-old Lily Cole was gone. Her backpack still on the chair, her shoes neatly by the door. But her favorite stuffed rabbit, the one she never slept without, was lying face down on the carpet. And the babysitter, the woman they had trusted, welcomed into their home, the woman their daughter adored, had vanished without a trace. Police arrived within minutes, but it took only seconds for them to realize this was no ordinary disappearance. In the babysitter's abandoned backpack, tucked between a snack wrapper and a folded sweater, they found a small leather notebook filled with 23 names, 23 different signatures, 23 different addresses, all written in the same careful handwriting. Every name belonged to her, and none of them were real. To find Lily, police had to answer one question first. Who was the babysitter they had invited into their lives? A woman with no past, no identity, no traceable existence. A woman who had lived 23 different lives and left destruction in every one of them. Tonight, we go behind the perfect crime to uncover the truth about the babysitter no one ever really knew. Before the disappearance, before the notebook with 23 names, before the story spiraled into one of the most baffling cases investigators had ever seen, there was simply a family trying their best to stay afloat. Emily and Marcus Cole were like countless young parents across the country, balancing work, responsibilities, and exhaustion while raising a child they adored more than anything in the world. Emily worked as a nurse. Long shifts, unpredictable hours, the kind of job that demanded everything and still somehow asked for more. Marcus managed a hardware store, steady but tiring work, the kind that kept the bills paid but rarely left time for rest. Between them, they crafted a life filled with love, yes, but also exhaustion. The kind of exhaustion that sinks into the bones and makes even the smallest tasks feel overwhelming. They loved their daughter fiercely. 4-year-old Lily, bright eyes, boundless energy, a child who could turn a living room into a playground and a quiet moment into laughter. But like many parents with limited support, they needed help, just a few hours a week. Someone to watch Lily while they worked, or caught up on sleep, or simply tried to breathe. And so, after weeks of searching, interviews, and comparing schedules, they hired a babysitter, a woman who introduced herself as Anna Blake. She appeared one warm afternoon in late May, hair neatly pulled back, a soft smile that seemed genuinely kind, and a calm presence that immediately put Emily at ease. She said she'd worked with children for years. She said she loved helping families. She said all the right things. Not too much, not too little, just enough to feel dependable, trustworthy, safe. And from the moment she bent down and tied Lily's shoelace with gentle, delicate care, Emily felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. Anna had that way about her. A softness that made people open up, a quiet confidence that made her seem older than she appeared, and a patience that made her perfect in every way a parent could hope for. Neighbors noticed it too. How she always waved when walking Lily to the mailbox. How she remembered small details, birthdays, favorite snacks, routines. How she carried herself with a calm, comforting grace that made it easy to believe she was exactly who she said she was. Marcus once told a coworker, "We really lucked out with her. She's a blessing." And for a while, that felt true. Anna seemed to understand Lily in a way few people did. She played her favorite games, taught her how to draw shapes, and even introduced her to a bedtime story that soon became Lily's nightly request. Emily noticed the change almost immediately. Lily laughed more, slept better, ate with more enthusiasm. She had bonded with Anna deeply, quickly, naturally, in a way Emily had both hoped for and feared. Because love and trust make people vulnerable. And in hindsight, that vulnerability was the opening Anna needed. Still, at the time, there were no warning signs, no dramatic clues, no reason for suspicion, just a family grateful for the help they had found. Or rather, the help they thought they had found. Because while Anna seemed perfect, there were shadows just beneath the surface, small inconsistencies, soft misdirections, brief flickers of something unplaceable in her eyes or her tone, moments so small they slipped through unnoticed, moments that would later become glaring red flags. But back then, Emily and Marcus saw only what they needed to see: a trustworthy babysitter, a caring young woman, a helping hand in a chapter of life that felt unbearably heavy. What they didn't know, what no one knew, was that Anna Blake wasn't Anna at all. She never had been. And the woman they brought into their lives, their home, their child's world, was already living under her seventh identity that year alone. For the first few weeks, life inside the Cole household felt easier, more balanced, almost peaceful. Emily could finally take her shifts without constantly checking her phone. Marcus could schedule inventory at work without scrambling to find last-minute help. And Lily thrived under Anna's care, blooming in small but noticeable ways. It almost felt too good to be true. And in stories like this, that feeling is almost always the first warning. But nothing that happened early on felt dangerous. Not yet. Just small, subtle moments. Moments that felt unusual only in retrospect. Once the truth finally surfaced. It began with the photographs. Anna loved taking pictures of Lily, a habit that seemed harmless, even sweet. She called them memory moments, capturing Lily coloring at the table, or sitting on the porch steps, or holding her stuffed rabbit during bedtime. Emily appreciated the gesture. But one evening, while scrolling through her phone, she noticed something strange. Anna had sent her 6 photos of Lily that day, but in every single one, Lily wasn't smiling. Her expression was blank, almost vacant, as if something had drained the spark right out of her. When Emily mentioned it, Anna smiled gently and said, "Oh, she was just tired. Long day. Kids have off days too, you know." It sounded reasonable. And Emily accepted the explanation. The next red flag came disguised as concern. One afternoon, Marcus returned home early and found Anna sitting on the couch, Lily curled against her chest, as if she'd been crying. "What happened?" he asked, alarmed. Anna hesitated, just for a moment, then sighed softly. "She had a nightmare during her nap," she said. "She kept saying she didn't want to sleep alone." Then she looked up with gentle eyes. "I think she's becoming more attached. But it's okay. I'm here for her." Marcus thanked her, and at the time, he meant it. But later, long after the truth came out, he remembered that moment differently. He remembered how tightly she held Lily, how Lily hadn't lifted her head even when he walked into the room. He remembered the silence. The next warning sign appeared on a Friday evening. Emily had left work early and arrived home just after sunset. Through the living room window, she saw Anna reading to Lily, a soft, sweet moment that warmed her tired heart. But when she walked inside, both of them startled, violently, as if they hadn't expected her home so soon. Anna recovered quickly, smiled, and said, "Didn't hear you come in." But Lily clung to her mother with unusual desperation, her small hands gripping Emily's shirt, her head buried in her shoulder. Emily brushed it off as excitement. She didn't know any better yet. Nobody did. There were other small things. easy to overlook at the time. Anna always arrived early, always stayed late, always offered help before being asked. She learned their routines faster than most people learned a song. She knew where everything was in the house, not just in common areas, but in drawers, cabinets, even the garage. And sometimes, Emily would catch her watching Lily with an expression she couldn't quite decipher. Not affection, not concern, something deeper, something harder, something that felt hungry. But every time Emily tried to question it, Anna smiled that same soft smile and the unease faded, like fog rolling back into the trees. Because predators rarely come with fangs and shadows. Sometimes they come with warm voices, gentle hands, and perfectly timed understanding. And the Coles were vulnerable, emotionally, financially, physically exhausted, which made them the perfect targets. Still, despite the red flags, despite the moments of unease, nothing could have prepared them for what happened next. Because 3 weeks before Lily disappeared, something changed inside the house. A shift so subtle that the Coles didn't fully understand it until it was too late. It began with a lie, a small one, a lie so simple it could have slipped past anyone. Anna told Emily she needed to step out for a few minutes to take a phone call, but the house security system showed the opposite. Anna never left, not even for a second. Instead, she went into the basement and stayed there for 13 minutes. Nobody knew why. Nobody knew what she was doing. Nobody even realized it had happened until investigators reviewed the footage. But what happened in those 13 minutes would become the first undeniable sign that Anna wasn't who she claimed to be. And that her connection to Lily was not just emotional, it was deliberate, calculated, planned. Because Anna Blake was not a babysitter. She was a ghost wearing a borrowed identity, one of 23 she had used across 6 different states, and Lily Cole was her next target. March 17th began like any ordinary day. A quiet morning, soft sunlight bleeding through the curtains, the sound of cartoons drifting from the living room where Lily sat cross-legged on the floor, humming to herself as she colored. Emily kissed her daughter's forehead before rushing out the door for an early shift. Marcus followed soon after, leaving for a supplier meeting an hour away. And for the first time that week, Anna arrived late. Not by much, 8 minutes, but late enough that Marcus mentioned it jokingly as he handed her the house key. "Long morning?" he said with a smile. Anna laughed softly. "Just traffic," she replied. "Today will be a calm day. I promise." Marcus believed her. He always did. But investigators would later determine that those 8 minutes were not spent in traffic. They were spent sitting in her car, engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel, breathing slowly, preparing. At 9:43 a.m., the front door closed behind them, and for the next several hours, the only people inside the house were Lily Cole and the woman living her 7th identity. For most of the day, nothing appeared unusual. According to the home security logs, Anna made Lily lunch at noon, played music in the living room at 12:40, brought out finger painting supplies around 1:15. Everything looked normal, routine, exactly the kind of day any babysitter might create. But there was one thing, one detail almost invisible unless you knew where to look. The cameras in the house were positioned in every common room, except one, the guest bedroom, a room that was rarely used and almost always kept closed. At 1:27 p.m., Anna carried Lily into that room and closed the door. There is no footage. Only the stark, cold silence of a camera facing an empty hallway as 33 minutes passed without a single sound. At 2:01 p.m., the door opened. Anna stepped out first, calm, collected, her expression unreadable. Lily followed, her steps slow, her eyes unfocused, her little hand held too tightly in Anna's grip. Then, something that chilled investigators even months later. Anna locked the guest room door from the outside. Emily recalled nothing unusual when Anna texted her that afternoon. "Lily is being an angel today. All good here." There was no indication that anything had happened. But at 3:15 p.m., everything shifted. The security system went offline. 15 minutes, just 15, of total blackout. Then it came back online again as if nothing had happened. This was the precise window, detectives later determined, when Anna made her move. At 4:02 p.m., less than an hour before Emily returned home, a motion sensor at the back door captured brief activity, a blur of movement, a small figure, a larger one behind it. And then, nothing. No more sensors triggered. No more doors opened. No footsteps detected. Because Lily did not leave through the back door. And neither did Anna. Instead, she used the one exit the Coles had forgotten existed. A storm cellar door hidden behind overgrown shrubs, leading into a narrow side alley that funneled straight to the street. A perfect escape route. At 4:46 p.m., Emily pulled into the driveway. She walked into a quiet house. Too quiet. Lily's drawing was still on the table, half finished. The stuffed rabbit was sitting upright on the couch, and Anna's backpack, the one she brought every day, was gone. "Anna?" Emily called out. Nothing. "Lily?" Silence. She checked the bedrooms, the bathroom, the backyard, her voice rising, becoming sharper, more frantic. Then she noticed something she would replay in her nightmares for years to come. The storm cellar door was slightly open, a sliver of darkness staring back at her. She ran to it, calling her daughter's name, but the narrow alley was empty. The world began to tilt. Her hands shook so violently she could barely dial Marcus's number. Her voice broke as she told him, "Lily is gone. She's gone." When police arrived, the first thing they found was the small leather notebook buried deep inside a kitchen drawer. 23 names, 23 lives, 23 lies. Not one of them belonged to the woman they had hired. And in that moment, standing in the middle of her quiet home, Emily realized something few parents ever have to face. The person she trusted most had taken her child. And she had no idea who that person actually was. Not a single child she had taken was ever found harmed. Not one. They were simply gone, as if she had removed them from the world entirely. The FBI profiler wrote one sentence that shook the entire task force. "Her motive may not be financial. It may be ideological." Ideological. A belief. A cause. Something deeper than money. Something darker than impulse. What that belief was, nobody knew. But one thing became chillingly clear. She viewed the children she took as something to protect or possess, not destroy. And Lily, sweet, quiet, bright-eyed Lily, fit a profile that the babysitter had followed for years. Children who were deeply loved, but deeply lonely. Children who responded strongly to adult validation. Children who bonded easily and quickly. Children who were gentle and eager for connection. Children who could be taken without struggle because they trusted too deeply. When investigators tracked all 23 identities, they made a discovery that changed everything. This babysitter, this woman with 23 lives, had not acted alone. Every time she disappeared, someone else disappeared with her. A woman, seen only in fragments of surveillance footage, always staying out of view, always wearing neutral colors, always keeping her head down. Sometimes she drove the getaway car. Sometimes she booked the hotel room. Sometimes she purchased the supplies. They called her the quiet accomplice. And in the footage collected from 15 different cities over 8 years, one detail kept repeating. Children taken by Anna were sometimes seen with both women before they vanished entirely. It wasn't one predator, it was two. A partnership, a pattern, a system. A perfect crime executed again and again with the world never noticing. And now, Lily was part of that system. For 11 days, investigators chased ghosts. Tips came in by the hundreds, none of them credible. Sightings blurred into dead ends. Leads dissolved into nothing. Every hour that passed tightened the fear around the Cole family's hearts. Lily was out there somewhere, with a woman who did not exist and an accomplice no one could identify. And then, on day 12, everything changed. It began in the digital forensics lab, a quiet room filled with humming machines and exhausted analysts reviewing footage frame by frame. Most of the footage was useless, grainy, distant, captured by doorbell cameras or storefront security systems that barely worked in daylight, let alone twilight. But at 2:14 a.m., a young analyst named Jordan Reyes noticed something. A flaw, a flicker, a detail hiding in the darkness. A single frame from a gas station camera located 15 miles north of the Cole home. The image lasted a fraction of a second, barely enough to register, but it was enough. A car, a silver sedan, pulled into the station just after 4:30 p.m. on the day Lily disappeared. The license plate was covered. The driver was a woman with her head turned away. Light hair, pulled back tight. Sitting in the passenger seat was a child, small, still, strapped into the front seat with her legs dangling over the edge, wearing pink shoes. Emily confirmed it instantly. They were Lily's. The room fell silent. For the first time in 12 days, they had proof. Not speculation, not theory, not possibility. Proof that Lily had been alive after she left the house. But there was something else, something hidden in that same frame that Jordan almost missed. A reflection in the passenger side mirror. A shape, a faint outline. Another woman sitting in the back seat. The quiet accomplice. It was the first time investigators had ever captured both women in the same image. The task force shifted instantly. Theories collapsed. New ones took shape. Because this wasn't just a kidnapping. This wasn't a lone babysitter stealing a child on impulse. This was a coordinated disappearance. Planned, structured, practiced. And now they had a direction. The gas station. The receipt. The timestamp. Detectives drove to the station, hoping for anything at all. The clerk barely remembered the women. He said they came in quickly, bought water, bought snacks, didn't speak to anyone. But then he said something that made every detective in the room freeze. They asked for directions, he said. They wanted to know the fastest route to the state border. Which border? The detective asked. The clerk pointed east. Pennsylvania. The same state where one of Anna's stolen identities originated. The same state where 2 previous missing children were last seen before disappearing forever. The task force mobilized. 2 states working as one. Roadblocks established. Car models flagged. License plates matched. Gas station footage combed. And that's when investigators found the detail that shattered their entire understanding of who they were dealing with. The silver sedan was registered, not to Anna, not to the quiet accomplice, not to any known identity, but to a woman reported missing 22 months earlier, a woman who vanished with her 3-year-old daughter while driving to her parents' home for Christmas. Her car was never recovered. Her daughter was never found. Until now. Because seated behind Anna in that reflection, barely visible but unmistakable, was a second child. Not Lily, a girl with dark curls and wide eyes, a child who had been missing for nearly 2 years. This wasn't a single abduction. This wasn't a one-time crime. This was continuity, pattern, operation. And suddenly, every theory investigators had built collapsed into something far more sinister. Anna wasn't taking these children to harm them. She was keeping them. And there was something even darker, something investigators hadn't dared to consider until that moment. She wasn't working alone. She was building something, a family, a belief system, a purpose, a hidden world where the children she took would vanish into new lives under new names. A world that investigators had never been able to find, not once, until now, because for the first time, they had a direction, a path, a final breadcrumb, a chance. The gas station footage didn't just show a car driving east, it showed the beginning of the end, the first crack in the perfect pattern, and the first real hope of finding Lily alive. Once investigators confirmed that the silver sedan was headed east, the tone of the case shifted. This was no longer a local search, no longer a quiet investigation in a suburban neighborhood. This was a full-scale manhunt stretching across state lines. Police departments from Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and New York were notified within the hour. Highways were monitored, plate readers activated, rest stops checked. But the car, the silver sedan, never appeared again. Not on any toll road, not on any street camera, not on any highway. It had vanished, the same way Anna vanished from every city she touched. But the task force didn't give up. They studied the gas station map. The handwritten marks the clerk remembered seeing. 2 circles, 2 possible destinations. One circle was scratched out. The other was pressed so deeply into the paper that the pen nearly tore through. It pointed to a rural area bordering the Allegheny National Forest, a place with no cameras, no cell towers, miles of woodland that could swallow a car, a person, or an entire past without leaving a trace. The task force formed a plan, 4 teams, 30 officers, 2 federal agents, an FBI behavioral analyst. They drove east, into the heart of Pennsylvania, following a trail that didn't yet exist. The breakthrough came 78 miles from the gas station at an abandoned campground once used for summer retreats. A park ranger reported seeing a silver car covered in dust, parked behind a storage shed near the creek. No plates, no windows broken, no signs of forced entry. Just dust. As if the car had been sitting there for days. Untouched, unclaimed. But inside the glove compartment was something that made the entire team freeze. A drawing, a child's drawing. 2 stick figures holding hands. One labeled Anna, the other labeled Me. In pink crayon, signed with Lily's handwriting. It was the first indication that she was still alive. But there was something else. Drawn in the corner was a 3rd figure, a woman with long hair standing behind the 2 of them. No name, just a dark scribble where the face should be. The quiet accomplice. This wasn't just a kidnapping. It was a relationship, a bond, a reprogramming. The behavioral analyst whispered one sentence that chilled everyone present. She thinks she belongs to them now. Half a mile beyond the abandoned campground, hidden behind overgrown pines and unmarked on any digital map, the team found a cabin. Small, weathered, almost invisible beneath the trees. No electricity, no running water, no paths leading in or out. The kind of place you only find if you already know where it is. A perfect hiding place for people who wanted to erase themselves. The team approached carefully, flashlights off, guns drawn, step by step, breathing slow, hearts pounding. Inside the cabin, they found signs of life, but not the life they expected. Children's clothing, folded neatly, sorted by size, canned food, labeled with dates, sleeping mats, 3 of them, carefully arranged in a corner. And on the rickety wooden table sat a stack of faded passports, all belonging to children reported missing, pages stamped with entry and exit dates from countries they had never been to, fake documents, fake names, fake futures. But the most chilling discovery was taped to the wall. 27 photographs, arranged in perfect rows, 27 children, each photo labeled not with a real name, but with a number. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lily's photo was number 28. The behavioral analyst stepped closer, his voice barely a whisper. This isn't just a pattern, it's a system, a structure. These children aren't being harmed, they're being relocated. By who? An officer asked. The analyst looked at the pictures, at the empty mats, at the false passports, and then he said, by someone who believes she's saving them. The room fell silent, because written beneath the last photograph, beneath Lily's photo, were 3 words. Bring her home. Outside the cabin, they found footprints. 3 sets. 2 adult. 1 child. Moving away from the cabin, not toward the road, but deeper into the forest. Toward the river, toward the mountains, toward land where people could disappear for months without a single witness. The search intensified. Drones overhead. Dogs tracking scent trails. Teams splitting into grids. But the further they went, the more identical the forest became. Endless trees with no markers, no direction, no sign of where the women were going or how far ahead they were. Until a dog found something, a scarf, pink, soft fibers, still warm. Not warm from the sun, warm from a body. Lily's. The women were close, very close. Close enough that the search team heard something echo through the trees. A laugh. A child's laugh. Bright. Pure. Echoing through the forest like a cruel reminder of what they were fighting for. But then, just as quickly, the laugh faded, replaced by footsteps, running, branches snapping, leaves scattering, a voice, a woman's voice, sharply whispering, "Faster!" The hunt had truly begun, and for the first time, after weeks of darkness, fear, and dead ends, the team believed they might actually reach Lily before she vanished forever into the hidden world the babysitter had built. The forest swallowed sound. Every step the officers took was absorbed by moss and damp earth. Every breath clouded into the cold morning air. Every heartbeat thudded like a warning. They were close, close enough to hear the rustle of bodies moving ahead, close enough to hear a child's laugh fade into the distance, close enough to know that one wrong move could send Lily disappearing again, this time forever. The command was simple. No shouting, no sudden movements. Do not scare the child. The team fanned out, moving slowly through the pines, eyes adjusting to shifting shadows. Then, the first sighting. A figure emerging between the trees. A woman. Not Anna. This woman was older, long hair pulled back, sharp features, clothes practical, muted, chosen to blend into the wild. The quiet accomplice. She paused, just long enough for the team to register her face, then lifted one finger to her lips. A gesture of silence, a gesture of warning, a gesture of control. And then she stepped backward and vanished into the trees, moving with a certainty that only someone who lived in the forest could possess. But the officers noticed something else. Behind her, half hidden behind a fallen log, was a small shape. Lily. She wasn't restrained. She wasn't crying. She wasn't fighting. She was kneeling in the moss, holding a small wooden toy, a carved bird, rocking it gently back and forth. When she saw the officers, she didn't scream. She didn't reach for help. She whispered one word. "Anna." Her voice was soft, confused, almost hopeful. The lead officer lowered his weapon, held out an open hand. "Lily, sweetheart, we're here to help you." But Lily didn't move. Instead, she whispered again, this time with more urgency. "Anna." And from deeper in the forest, from somewhere beyond the fallen logs and tangled vines, a voice answered, not shouting, not afraid, calm, controlled, almost maternal. "I'm here, Lily." Anna stepped into view. Her hair was loose, her clothes damp with forest dew, but her expression was serene. She looked at the officers as if this moment was inevitable, as if she had been waiting for them. Behind her, the quiet accomplice stood silently, hands resting on the shoulders of another child. The missing girl from 2 years ago. Both children looked healthy, clean, fed, unharmed, which made the next moment even stranger. Anna smiled. Not a cruel smile, not a mocking one, a sad smile, a knowing smile. "You shouldn't have come here," she said softly. You're breaking something you don't understand. The officers tightened their circle, weapons raised, slowly, carefully. But Anna didn't flinch. She stepped forward, shielding Lily with her body, as if to protect her from the people trying to rescue her. "She doesn't belong to you anymore," Anna whispered. "She belongs with us." The lead investigator took a slow breath. "Anna, step away from the children." Anna shook her head. "You don't understand the world they came from. You don't understand the world we're building." Her voice was trembling, not with fear, but with conviction. A belief so strong it bordered on religious. The quiet accomplice finally spoke, a voice low, steady, shaped by years of silence. "We don't take children," she said. "We save them." The words hit the officers like ice. "Save them? From what?" Anna continued, her voice rising. "From broken homes and exhausted mothers who cry in the bathroom so their children won't hear. From fathers who don't come home on time because they can't bear the weight of responsibility. From lives that will crush them before they ever have a chance to grow." She looked directly at the lead investigator, then at Lily. "They deserve a better world," she whispered, "and we were giving it to them." In that moment, that terrifying moment, the officers realized the truth. This wasn't chaos. This wasn't impulse. This wasn't a ring or a syndicate. It was ideology. A twisted, self-righteous belief built over years by two women who saw themselves as saviors, not criminals. Anna opened her arms to Lily. "Come here, sweetheart," she whispered. And Lily, the child who had been taken, the child who should have run toward help, took one small step toward Anna. The officers panicked. "Lily, stop! Stay where you are!" But Lily froze, torn between two worlds she didn't understand. Anna smiled softly. "You see, she chooses us." And then, a crack, a sharp sound echoing through the forest. A branch, a footstep, a gun cocking. No one knew, but Anna reacted instantly. "Run!" The quiet accomplice grabbed the second child. Anna reached for Lily. Chaos erupted. Officers lunged forward. Children screamed. Pine needles exploded under frantic footsteps. Two women vanished into the fog like ghosts breaking apart. And Lily? Lily disappeared into the darkness with them. Again. But this time, she left something behind. Something small. Something vital. Something that would lead investigators to the truth hidden behind the perfect crime. A carved wooden bird, its wing engraved with a number. 28. After the confrontation in the forest, one truth became undeniable. Anna and the quiet accomplice weren't simply kidnappers. They were believers, followers of an ideology shaped by trauma, fueled by instability, and sharpened into something dangerous enough to steal children and call it salvation. But where did this belief come from? Who taught them? Who shaped them? And why did they take Lily with such certainty that they were doing the right thing? The answers came from an unexpected place. A psychiatric file from a closed institution in upstate New York. The file belonged to Anna's real identity, the one she was born with before she became a ghost. Her birth name was Hannah Sloan. Hannah Sloan grew up in a small, isolated community called Briar Ridge. At first glance, it appeared to be a self-sustaining compound, a retreat for families seeking a quieter life. But beneath its peaceful exterior was a darker truth. Strict rules, rigid roles, children raised in silence, outsiders forbidden, and at the center of it all was one ideology. The world outside is broken. Children must be protected from it, by any means necessary. Hannah's mother was a devoted follower. Her father was a strict enforcer. Children were told that outsiders were dangerous, corrupting, destructive, abusive. They were told that their only safety was inside Briar Ridge, and if a child cried or resisted or asked to leave, They were told that meant the outside world had already poisoned them. Punishments were quiet, but devastating. Isolation, silence, weeks spent with no human contact except for one woman, a gentle caretaker known inside the compound as the guide, the woman who later became the quiet accomplice. It was the guide who shaped Hannah's mind into something obedient, devoted, and dangerous. It was the guide who taught her that taking a child from a struggling family wasn't kidnapping. It was mercy, that children didn't belong to the world they were born into. They belonged to the world built for them by those who understood suffering. Hannah, the girl who became Anna, believed every word. And when Briar Ridge was raided by federal authorities when she was 17, Hannah vanished into the woods with the guide. They were never found. Until now. Investigators discovered notebooks in the abandoned cabin, written in two distinct handwritings, Anna's and the guide's. Inside those pages were the rules they lived by. Rule 1. Children must be saved before the world breaks them. Rule 2. Choose only the lonely. 2. The gentle, the ones who feel invisible. Rule 3. Become who the family needs, a savior, a sister, a teacher, a shadow. Rule 4. Leave no trace, leave no noise, leave no past. Rule 5. Never stay, never return. Move the children to safety and disappear again. Across the pages were drawings made by the children they took, drawings of trees, rivers, little cabins, and two women smiling with open arms. There were no signs of abuse, no signs of fear. The children appeared to believe that Anna and the guide were rescuing them, not hurting them. This realization sent a wave of shock through the investigative team, because predators usually seek control, power, harm. But Anna and the guide believed they were liberators. They were building, in their minds, a new version of Briar Ridge, a place where children were protected, cut off from the outside world, raised with a distorted idea of love. A place where trust was manipulated, identity was erased, and childhood was rewritten into a story of captivity disguised as safety. Among the notes, one entry chilled investigators more than any other, a page titled, "The Child Who Doesn't Know She's Alone." A profile, a description, Lily's description. They had studied the Coles for weeks before approaching them. They knew Emily was exhausted. They knew Marcus was overwhelmed. They knew Lily was lonely in ways the Coles never recognized. And they believed, with terrifying conviction, that Lily needed saving. One sentence was underlined several times. "She trusts easily. She follows love. She is perfect." This wasn't random. This wasn't luck. This wasn't opportunity. It was selection, purposeful, cold, methodical. Lily was chosen because she fit a pattern established years earlier. The pattern of children most vulnerable to emotional manipulation. Children like the younger Hannah. Children like all 27 before her. Children who could be rewritten, rebuilt, reclaimed. At the bottom of the notebook, beneath pages of ideology and sketches, one final message appeared. A message written in Anna's hand. "The world failed us. We will not let it fail them." And beneath that, a list of 3 new names. 3 new children they planned to take next. One of the names belonged to a child living less than 30 minutes from the Cole home. The officers realized with horrifying clarity, Lily wasn't the end. She was the beginning of a new cycle, a new generation they intended to save. Unless the team found them first. After the cabin discovery, after the notebooks, the children's drawings, the list of future targets, the carved wooden bird marked 28, the tone of the investigation changed. This was no longer a missing child case. This was a countdown, a race against 2 women who had spent decades perfecting the art of vanishing. Every minute mattered, every mile mattered, every decision mattered, because Anna and the guide weren't running blindly. They were following a route mapped years earlier, a hidden trail that moved through forests, abandoned towns, closed roadways, and forgotten farmland. A trail used by Briar Ridge before it was shut down. A trail meant for escaping the outside world. A trail that investigators had never known existed until now. Teams assembled, helicopters launched, thermal drones scanned the canopy. Search dogs were deployed deeper into the woods than any civilian had set foot in years. But the forest was working against them, dense, unforgiving, designed to conceal, not reveal. Yet the women left something behind, a pattern. Every few miles, the team found evidence that Anna and the guide were moving the children with purpose. A half-eaten apple, a child's sock, faint footprints in the mud, a ribbon caught on a thorn bush, a cracked branch at shoulder height where Lily likely grabbed for balance. Clues too small to be coincidence, clues too deliberate to be careless, as if Anna wanted to stay just far enough ahead to remain free, but close enough to be followed. But why? Why leave a trail after years of perfection? Why risk capture now? That question would haunt investigators until the very end. By dusk, the trail led to a clearing where the remains of an old farmstead stood. A collapsed barn, a rusted silo, and a farmhouse tilted to one side as if sinking into the earth. A search dog stopped dead, sat down, barked once. He smelled children. Agents surrounded the farmhouse, guns drawn, flashlights steady. Inside, they found beds made of hay, still warm, footprints on the wooden floorboards, a lantern still burning. But the house was empty, except for one thing. On the kitchen table lay a folded piece of newspaper, clean, untorn, placed with deliberate care. Inside it was a note, written in Anna's unmistakable handwriting. "We are not your enemy. She is safe. Let us finish what we began." There was no signature, no threat, no demand, just those words. And at the bottom, a small fingerprint in ink. Lily's fingerprint. The impact was immediate. Anna was communicating. Anna was watching. Anna was close. And for the first time since the disappearance, she was willing to talk. Behind the farmhouse, searchers found another trail. Not worn, not obvious, but purposeful. A set of adult footprints leading up a narrow incline toward an elevated ridge. Next to them, partially overlapping, were smaller prints, children's prints, 3 sets, Lily and the 2 other missing girls. The trail grew steeper, the trees denser, the light dimmer. But the footprints did something strange. They split. One adult with 2 children went left. Another adult with 1 child went right. A strategic split. Designed to slow authorities, designed to divide attention. They were no longer fleeing. They were executing a plan. The lead profiler said aloud what everyone was thinking. They're not trying to escape. They're trying to disappear into their new life. And if they reached the top of the ridge, where abandoned mining tunnels cut through the mountain, they could vanish into a maze that stretched for miles. A place no unit could search safely. A place where missing people could disappear for years. The officers had one chance to intercept them. One final chance. As the team split to follow both trails, an officer on the left flank radioed in quietly. "I have eyes on a structure. Old wooden bridge. 2 figures crossing." The team approached slowly, weapons raised but fingers steady. Through the fog, 2 silhouettes became clear. A woman, the quiet accomplice, holding the hand of a small girl. Not Lily, the girl from 2 years ago. The child was barefoot and stumbling, exhausted, struggling to keep up. The guide knelt down, lifted the child gently, and whispered something too soft to hear. When she looked up and saw the officers closing in, she didn't run. She didn't hide. She simply whispered with heartbreaking calm, "Please don't undo this." The officers moved in, slow, calculated, controlled. The guide tightened her grip on the child and stepped backward toward the edge of the bridge. One more step and they'd fall into the ravine below. "Stop!" the lead agent shouted. "Don't move!" The guide's voice broke, the first and only time emotion pierced through her stillness. "I can't lose them again." The officers didn't understand. Not yet. But they would. They would understand everything when they found what was waiting at the end of the other trail. Because Anna was not with the guide. Anna was with Lily, and she was leading the little girl into the one place none of them ever wanted to go, the entrance to the abandoned mining network that stretched for miles under the mountain. If Anna made it inside, they might never see Lily again. The entrance to the mine yawned open like a wound in the earth. Cold, black, and pulsing with the sound of dripping water and distant echoes. It had been sealed decades ago. Warning signs rusted beyond recognition, metal beams bent, loose rock everywhere. A place so dangerous, even experienced search teams avoided it. And now Anna was inside, with Lily. The little girl was clutching the stuffed rabbit they found in the cabin. Her steps were small, uneven, frightened. But she trusted the hand holding hers, the same hand that had abducted her, the same hand responsible for 23 stolen identities, the same hand that believed it was saving her. Behind them, officers approached slowly, flashlights cutting through the darkness like knives. They couldn't shoot. The cavern walls were unstable. One bullet could cause a collapse. They also couldn't rush her. One wrong move, and Anna could disappear deeper into the labyrinth. A labyrinth she knew intimately, and they didn't. A negotiator stepped forward, voice low, calm, steady. "Anna, stop walking. We're not here to hurt you." Anna's steps slowed, just slightly, just enough to show she was listening, but she didn't turn around. Her voice echoed, soft and eerily composed. "You're too late. You already hurt her." Lily whimpered, not in pain, in confusion. The negotiator tried again. "Anna, please, let her come to us. You don't want to frighten her." Anna finally turned. Her face was streaked with dust and tears, but her eyes, those eyes were steady, resolute, almost maternal. "She was frightened," Anna said. "She was frightened long before I came along. But none of you listened. You never listen." Flashlights trembled in the officer's hands. Because for the first time since the abduction, Anna wasn't running. She was confronting them. The negotiator kept his voice calm. "Anna, whatever happened to you in the past," but she cut him off sharply. "This isn't about me." Then she knelt down beside Lily, cupped the girl's face gently and whispered, "You're safe. Don't look at them. Look at me." And the way Lily looked at her, as if she truly believed those words, sent a shiver through every officer in that mine. Because this didn't look like a criminal holding a hostage. It looked like a mother holding her child, but Anna wasn't her mother, and she never would be. Anna stood again, her voice shaking for the first time. "You want to know who I am? Why I did this? Then stop pretending this little girl was safe before I arrived." Silence, a heavy, suffocating silence. Then Anna said the sentence that changed the entire case. "She told me what he did to her." Every officer froze, because Lily, only 4 years old, barely speaking in full sentences, had never disclosed harm to anyone. Not to police, not to teachers, not to doctors. But Anna continued. "She told me what happened in that house, at night." A murmur rippled through the team. "Who, Anna?" the lead agent demanded. "Who hurt her?" Anna's jaw tightened. Her eyes burned with fury. "Her father!" A shockwave hit the room. The negotiator blinked, stunned. No, that wasn't in the reports. There was no evidence." "There never is," Anna whispered. "Not at first. Not when they're this young. Not when the predator lives in the house." She took a trembling breath. Children tell me things, because I listen, because I believe them. She pointed toward Lily's small hand, the one tightly gripping her stuffed rabbit. Ask her, Anna whispered. She told me with drawings. She told me with fear. Officers exchanged horrified glances. If this was true, if Lily had been trying to tell someone, then the kidnapping was no longer a simple crime. It was a rescue twisted into a criminal act. But they needed proof, real proof, and time was running out. A rumble shook the ground. Rocks shifted. Dust rained from the ceiling. The mine was unstable. If it collapsed now, everyone inside would be buried. The negotiator stepped forward. Anna, listen to me. You need to walk out with her. The roof is giving way. You won't survive in there. Anna pulled Lily closer. I'm not leaving her. Not until you promise she will never go back to that house. We will investigate. No, Anna said bitterly. I know what investigations look like. I know what systems do to girls like her and girls like I was. The officers finally understood. This wasn't just Lily's story. This was Anna's story, too. She had been abused as a child, ignored, disbelieved, left unprotected. And now she had spent her adult life trying to rewrite that past, one stolen identity at a time. Saving children the way no one saved her, a twisted mission, a dangerous mission. But in her mind, a righteous one. Just as the ceiling shifted again, Lily looked up at Anna and whispered the softest, smallest word. Home? Anna broke. Her entire body shook as she realized the truth. Lily didn't want to stay in the dark anymore. She didn't want to run. She didn't want another identity. She wanted her mother. Not the perfect mother, not a rescuer, not a savior, just her mother. The negotiator saw the moment Anna shattered, saw the moment the hero in her own mind, realized she was becoming the villain in Lily's. Anna, he said gently, softly, almost like he was speaking to a wounded child. Let's go home. All of us. Together. Anna's breathing broke. Her knees weakened. Her grip on Lily loosened. Slowly, she lifted her hands and surrendered. The standoff was over, but the story was not even close. Because the investigation that followed would expose a truth far darker than anyone expected. About Lily's home, about Anna's past, and about the silent systems that failed them both. When Anna walked out of the mine, her hands raised, her clothes torn, her face streaked with dirt and tears, the world watched. Some saw a kidnapper, some saw a guardian. But the truth was still buried. Hidden beneath years of silence, fear, and the complicated bond between a broken woman and a frightened little girl. Lily was rushed to the hospital, exhausted, dehydrated, but alive. And for the first time since she disappeared, her mother collapsed into sobs, the kind of sobs that come when the world ends and begins again in the same breath. But even as doctors examined Lily, something strange happened. The girl flinched when her father walked into the room, a tiny reaction, barely noticeable. But investigators saw it, because they were watching closely now, very closely. The next morning, Lily sat in a small room with two specialists, women trained to speak to children who had been through the unthinkable, a teddy bear on the table, markers, blank paper. Lily didn't speak much, not at first, but when they asked gently, "Can you draw your family?" her little hand began to move, a circle for her mother, a circle for herself, and then a larger figure, scribbled, dark, drawn with jagged strokes that cut across the page. When asked who it was, she whispered one word, "Daddy." The room fell silent. Then Lily did something that removed all doubt. She pointed at the dark scribbled figure, pressed the crayon hard, and said, "Bad." Just one word. Soft, but explosive. because sometimes the smallest voices tell the biggest truths. At first, the public assumed Anna's accusations were manipulations, twisted lies from a woman who had lived 23 lives and broken 23 families. But now, detectives began to wonder. Had she chosen the children randomly? Or had she been targeting children who were already in danger? The father volunteered for questioning. Calm, polite, collective, too collective. He denied everything, said Anna had manipulated the child, said Lily was confused, said the scribbles meant nothing. But investigators noticed something Anna had known all along. He never once asked, "How is my daughter doing?" Only, "Am I a suspect?" 2 days later, a forensic sweep of the home found something inside the HVAC vent in Lily's bedroom. A broken piece of plastic, not a toy, not a bottle cap, a baby monitor camera cover. Someone had removed the cover and turned the camera toward the bed. Someone had been watching Lily, recording her. The father claimed he'd installed it for safety, but the hard drive told a different story. Files were deleted, but not all. Hidden deep in the system were corrupted fragments of video, enough to show that the camera had been used late at night, and every file matched the father's login credentials. The investigators felt cold, very cold, because Anna had been right, and she had been alone in knowing it. While this unfolded, Anna sat in an interrogation room, disheveled, calm, hands folded like a schoolgirl waiting for punishment. When they told her they found the baby monitor pieces, she closed her eyes and whispered, "I tried to save her sooner, but I had to wait until I was sure." They asked her how she had known, and Anna told them how Lily clung to her during babysitting, how she startled when footsteps approached, how she hid her drawings whenever her father walked in, how her body stiffened at the sound of a man's voice. "Trauma has a language," Anna said softly, "and I speak it fluently." The detectives didn't know what to say, because they realized she wasn't boasting. She was telling the truth. A judge ordered Lily removed from the home immediately, placed in protective custody with her mother. Trauma counseling began the next week. Her father was arrested on charges of child endangerment, illegal surveillance, and assault under investigation. And as those charges grew, so did the evidence against him. It turned out Anna hadn't been the threat in the house. She had been a mirror, reflecting what the system refused to see. She faced charges, yes, kidnapping, forgery, identity fraud. But something remarkable happened. When the prosecution presented its case, they didn't paint her as a monster. They painted her as a woman whose trauma had twisted into a mission to save children like herself, a mission carried out illegally, dangerously, but not maliciously. And when Lily's mother took the stand, she said something no one expected. "I don't forgive her, but I understand her." The courtroom fell quiet. Before sentencing, Anna asked to speak. She stood, trembling, and said, "I never wanted to be a criminal. I only wanted to stop another child from learning the lesson I learned, that no one is coming, no one sees you, no one hears you. So I tried to be the someone I never had." One juror wiped tears. The judge looked down. Anna was sentenced to a reduced term in a psychiatric rehabilitation facility, not a prison. Because sometimes justice recognizes the complexity of a soul. Her recovery was slow, fragile, full of therapy sessions and relearning what safety feels like. But she no longer woke at night crying. She no longer hid her drawings. And one day, months later, she asked her mother, "Is the lady gone?" Her mother hesitated, then said, "Yes, baby, she's gone." And Lily whispered, "But she helped me." 2 women, 1 child, 1 truth. Sometimes the villain is the person everyone trusts, and sometimes the rescuer is the person no one wants to believe. In the months that followed, the headlines faded, courtrooms emptied, reporters moved on to the next story, the next tragedy, the next name on the docket. But trauma doesn't move on. It lingers, quietly, shaping everyone it touches. Lily continued her therapy, surrounded now by people who finally listened to the tiny signals she had tried to send for so long. Her mother rebuilt their life piece by fragile piece, haunted by the question every parent fears: how did I not see it? And Anna began a different kind of journey, one inside the walls of a rehabilitation center, where the ghosts of her past finally had names, and the things she'd done finally had consequences. She was not a hero. She was not a monster. She was something far more complicated, a survivor who chose the wrong path for the right reasons. And somewhere in that gray space between guilt and salvation, she began to understand that saving others could never erase the girl she once was. In the end, justice did not look clean or perfect. It rarely does. But Lily was safe. Her truth finally spoken. Her world finally heard. And for the first time in a long time, healing could begin. In a world full of secrets and silence, some crimes are hidden behind closed doors, and some are hidden behind good intentions. But every perfect crime leaves a shadow, and our job is to step into that shadow and reveal the truth. Firm but calm, the exact tone that boosts subscribes. If this story moved you, if you believe in exposing the truth behind the crimes no one wants to talk about, then support this channel, Behind the Perfect Crime, by subscribing and becoming part of a community that refuses to look away. Your likes, comments, and shares help bring more hidden stories to light, stories that can protect someone, warn someone, or open someone's eyes before it's too late. So hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and join me tomorrow as we uncover the next case, right here on Behind the Perfect Crime.